So in the last video on Sunday, I spoke about a breakout entry on Tesla. We did end up having a strong breakout with continuation up to my 274 pivot. I also mentioned a breakdown potential on Aapl where I was looking for a short trigger with confirmation under this blue zone. We got that over here on Tuesday of this week. Was able to see a lot more downside afterwards. And if you missed the initial confirmation signal of a trigger below, we did retest it later in the session. So there was two opportunities to get in this. And then we had a lot more downside following, which ended up going into today, which had a very bearish close on the daily. And I'm going to go back into this later in the video, but a nice two setups here on Tesla and Aapl, as well as SPX. I was looking to short in this blue box as of this week. I did enter a short position. Now this is a bit of a longer swing, and I also will talk about SPX here. I'll actually do that right now. What I think will happen heading into the end of the month. Personally, I have 1/2 short exposure at the moment as of 4,480. Now, based on the close today, this is a potential flat bottom reversal. So we'll see what happens after hours. You can always see things get mixed up based on the future session, but there's a potential that we actually have continuation from this into Friday. So especially Thursday and then Friday around OPEX. I would not be surprised to see another retest of this blue box if price was able to get above this blue box, which the range, by the way, is 4,478 to 4,485 roughly. If we can get above this 85 level, then we would see more upside for one, a gap fill of the gap here from September 6th, and then two, potentially to retest the higher end of my red box here around 4,500. I'd only see around 4,500, a little bit over as the max going into next week. This is where I'd actually add the other 1/2 of my short position, because like I just said, I added the first half at 4,480. The other half I would add up here if we do hit it. Now, there's the potential that we don't hit it at all and I just have 1/2. However, I like to keep a cushion when I enter these larger swing positions, and this allows me about a 20-point cushion for another short entry if we do end up hitting that here within the next couple days. So I am watching for that. Just wanted to give you the update here on this short setup. Going back over to Tesla and Aapl though, again, Tesla as of now, super bullish. We had that news come out on Monday and it just continued to run a clean break over this trend line during the pre-market session. And like I said in this Sunday video, anything over here is very bullish for further upside. And we went up to my pivot up here, which acted as a resistance, as you can see earlier in today's session. Now at the moment, yes, it is very strong and went up quite a bit and we are consolidating now, but I'm not interested in Tesla anymore. The next trade setup would be a potential retest and bounce off around 254, 253. That'd be the retest of this trend line. And I also showed you on Sunday where I got this trend line from. But if you are new here, this is the trend line that goes all the way back to all-time highs, connects to this key resistance here in January of 2022, as well as this resistance in early April of 2022. And you can see also was a resistance recently in June and equally down here as we went into August and September. So this is a very critical trend line that once broken above, you can see had a lot of momentum ready to pounce to the upside. And again, we're looking at some consolidation now, but I'm not interested in Tesla at the moment. Already he's given two amazing setups. If you've been watching the videos in the past couple of weeks, we had the setup from back here, end of August, for a breakout above my blue zone, and then the other one here for the breakout above the trend line. So nice momentum so far, and it's best to not overdo it, especially when you're trading an individual ticker. If you get a couple good setups, it's best to be patient on the next one, or just look at another ticker like Aapl, which I'm just about to show you right here. This one, beautiful breakdown below the level that I provided in that Sunday video. And there's also a potential trade setup here as well. 171, this is a key pivot. I've had this on the chart for a while, and based on today's daily close, I would not be surprised to see this hit. Now, like I said, with SPX, there's the potential that we have a continued bounce to the upside. Again, it depends on the future session, and also depends if we can get above this blue range. That would just be short-term upside. Again, very brief to about 4,500, 4,510 max on that move before further downside, ideally into next week and end of month. However, at the moment, just based on this daily close, it looks like price wants lower, potential double bottom, or to wick under the bottom that we formed in the middle of August. So 171, very critical level. Why is this a critical level? Let me show you right here. You can see this acted as a very key support, not only in the daily chart, as you can see right here with all of these candle wicks, which signified demand, but also if we look at the 15-minute chart, or even if we looked at the hourly chart, it'd be the same thing. Go back over to here. You'll also see that we had a lot of intraday support on the 15-minute chart off this 171 level. You can see over here a lot of support over here, a lot of support as well as back over here. And this is also where we open the day after this major gap up due to earnings. So this is a known key support. And if it is retested in the near term future, which is likely going to be the case considering we closed around 174 today, there is a good potential for a dip buy opportunity. Now, personally, I'd like to go long on this around 171. Like I said, a daily close below would be the best confirmation to stop out of that position. And of course, we still have a couple points to go until this level is satisfied. But I just wanted to let you guys know once this is hit, I am interested in buying, especially because there's a potential double bottom opportunity with this low on August 18th being very close to this level. Now, one thing we do have to be careful of, yes, this is a very strong support, but you do have to make sure that you are aware of the risk of this because like I said, if we do get a daily close below here, with that being the stop out, there is the potential that this large gap that I just showed you because of earnings on May 5th, that could potentially fill. The bottom of this gap is 165, roughly 166. So you do not want to add over here for a swing trade to go long and then continue to hold if there was that confirmation under, because there's a potential that this gap does fill. And if this gap fills, it's very likely that we go back to retest this critical trend line. And this is the trend line that goes to all-time highs that we recently broke out of this year in April. And you can see it did provide numerous rejections back in 2022. And again, we did have to break out of this in order to continue the rally upward. So 171 is definitely an area of interest to me, but if we do get that gap fill afterwards, an insane buying opportunity would present itself around this 155 to 157 range. If this is the case, I will definitely be adding a lot, not only for a swing trade, but a long-term opportunity as well. Now, personally, I don't believe this will be the case, but I just wanted to let you guys know both of those scenarios there, because as traders, it's always good to be prepared for whatever happens in the market, especially because there is a lot of negative news around Apple right now in terms of China relations. But regardless, this is my setup and what I'm going to be looking for as we head into the end of the month of September. And speaking of Apple and Tesla, since both of those are tech, I do want to speak about QQQ here. We do have a critical level that is 376 on QQQ. So we want to make sure that we stay below for further downside on it. We saw a distribution zone back here in end of August, early September with a hard rejection candle over here on September 1st. After this mini distribution zone, we had a lower price discovery, and now we've been consolidating in this range. So two things here. The first thing that I noticed automatically is this trend line that you can draw on here. There's actually two variations. One would be this, which means that we already broke below and we retested and rejected. But then the main one now would be roughly this trend line here. We do want to make sure we get below this for further downside. And as long as we stay below roughly 376, especially on the daily, this can warrant a lot more downside as well. So do make sure you're aware of this because both QQQ and SPX are going to pair with each other. If one of them breaks down like QQQ, then you're going to see a lot of excess weight on the S&P 500 as well, which could mean excess downside. Lastly, I want to speak on volatility because this is something that's very critical right now. I do want to see volatility continue to stay low. Remember, I mentioned CPI, there'd likely be an unwinding of volatility afterwards. That is what we saw so far today and probably will be consistent tomorrow and potentially Friday on OPEX. Another reason why I actually expect there to be a very short-term bounce here on the S&P 500, again, futures permitting. But in terms of volatility here, I do want to see a little bit more downside. I like it under 1350. It's definitely good. And the reason why it's good is because that means participants are far less hedged now than they were before. It means that they're risking on again, which is a good contrarian signal, and it can mean that we can see a lot more downside in the general market. Now, there is a large gap over here around 1310. Personally, I'd actually like to see that fill before we get that large downside move in the S&P 500. Again, another reason why there's that potential of 4,500 hitting before we see that downside move and why I'm waiting to add the other half of my short position. Again, it doesn't have to happen. The market is based on probability, but better be safe than sorry. I already have some exposure. Why not wait in case that is hit? And as you can see over here for the VIX, it's about 40 cents off from this target hitting. So I am watching this at the moment. It's very good to see that volatility is down. Otherwise, if volatility was back above 15 or something going into the end of this week, then there'd be something to worry about where you could see an additional short squeeze in the market. So it is a good sign that it is down quite a bit right now and probably will go down here in the next couple of days. But next week and the following week are going to be critical times for volatility to potentially pop again and actually surpass this 1560 level that we just saw recently. So that's something that I'm watching for. And the very last thing today, very quickly, I'm going to go over dark pool prints here. We only have 3 days so far this week. So as of now, we have a decent amount of premium around 448.45, 1.8 billion at that level, and then 2.4 billion only a cent under. So roughly the same amount. And actually a mini one here around 448.43. So between this 3 cent range, we have close to 5 billion in premium, which is definitely a large amount. And that is above the current price of the S&P 500 at the close. So this is going to be an interesting level if it is retested soon, because there's a potential rejection spot or distribution around that range, which can act as a supply zone. We can see price fall from there if it is retested soon. So watch this specifically, this more so than any other prints that I'll show you here after. 448.45 roughly, definitely an important spot as we go here into the end of the week. And then additionally, as I scroll down on here, you can see that we do have a lot more to go scroll through, but we have 3.3 billion here at 445.91. Decent amount, definitely for signature Aapl print. Anything over 3 billion in premium is definitely something you want to mark on your charts and can be very useful if we do retest around that level. So make sure to mark that one as well. Regardless, continue to watch volatility here as well as the S&P 500 and QQQ. A very interesting time period approaching as we head into the end of the month. Potential for another vol spike here as we go into the next week. So an exciting time ahead. Make sure you use this week to prepare, and I'll see you guys next time on Sunday.